I want you to imagine it's a summer's evening and you're walking by the beach. It's quiet, it's still. You look out far, far into the horizon and slowly you notice something. There's a light, and the light starts to grow, and it gets larger and looms larger. And before you know it, it looks like almost the image of a man, and it's huge, wearing white robes. And this image comes closer and closer, and you say, oh my goodness, it's a malach, a malach. And you hear a loud, booming voice, yeah. I was sent by Hashem. What? I was sent to tell you the secret to creation. The reason why Hashem made everything, including you. Yes. What is it? What is the reason? Hashem made you, Moshe, so that you should make money. Money? Yes. Make money, but not just a little bit of money. Make a lot of money. Make as much money as you can. Make more money than you could ever spend in your lifetime, your children's lifetime, your children after that. And the Malach leaves. Now, if this were to happen, if you were to experience that, I would imagine that conversation would impact your life greatly. Impact every decision that you made, impact what you decided to do with your time, who you'd be involved with, in what ways. Because if in fact that were the message, it would greatly impact every decision you made in your life. Now, to be honest with you, I doubt a malach is going to come and visit you. And I surely doubt that if he did, that would be the message. But you see, here's the point. This question, why did Hashem create us? What's life about? What am I doing here? Is the most basic question that will impact every decision that you will make for the rest of your life. And the Mesillas Yesharim explains to us that this question is the yesod and the shorish, the source, the underpinning, the foundation of our entire religion. Asking this question and answering it. Why did Hashem create me? What's life about? What am I doing here? What does Hashem want from me? And asking that question and getting the answer clearly in front of me is in fact the single greatest force in our entire avodas Hashem. And again, as the Mesillas Yesharim explains to us, it's the foundation. But it's very interesting, because when he opens up the Mesillas Yesharim, he says the word sheyizbara v'yis ametz. It should become clear and truthful to a person why he was created, what he's doing here. He didn't just say you should think about it. He didn't say you should listen to the answer. He said it should become clear and truthful. And one of the questions I think a person should ask himself is, I don't understand. Let's assume for a minute that we're going to have a very clear direction. Imagine for a minute the Malach were to tell me exactly why Hashem made me, and again, unlikely to make a lot of money, but that's exactly what this book is now going to do. I have emunas chachamim. I fully accept the fact that Hashem sent His messengers, His shlichim. I fully accept the words of the Torah as true, and therefore I accept the words of Mesillas Yesharim is saying here as a very basic underpinning of my life, the reason why Hashem created me, and He's going to explain to us. The reason is because Hashem's the meitiv, Hashem's the giver. Hashem wants a share of His good with mankind, and therefore Hashem created the world. And this world is the place where we grow, we accomplish, we earn our schar. The world to come is the reason for it all. But that concept, once I get it, should be in my mind. Once I understand that, I should get it. It should change my life radically and completely. And yet that's not what the Mesillas Yesharim says. He says the real avoda, the real work is for it to become clear and truthful. Not just to read it, not just to hear it, but to actually get it, to fundamentally understand it, and to grasp it, for it to be a part of the essence of me. And in lieu of an introduction, I'd like to really spend this session as dealing with this very question. Why is it that certain concepts require so much work? For instance, if I were to ask you, in what year was the Revolutionary War fought? I assume you'd tell me 1776. And if you didn't know the answer off the top of your head, well, you'd look it up and you'd know the answer. If I were to ask you what's the first law of thermodynamics. Either you'd answer me, if you didn't know it immediately, again, you'd read a little bit, and you would get it, you would understand it. So clearly, we're intelligent people. We can take abstract thoughts, abstract ideas, and get it in front of us and understand it. Why then is it that the entire avoda, so much of the work is she's borev yisametz, that it should become clear and truthful? Why is it that I have to spend so much time, energy, and effort on really understanding this, really getting it, making it clear? You read it, you understand it, we're done. And if you don't quite hear this question, let me make it a little bit more clear. Here's a question. Have you ever sinned? Candid question. In your lifetime, have you ever sinned? Now, it's a reasonable question, but here's the observation. If I am a mamin, if I have a munah, then I know that Hashem is present right here. If Hashem is present right here, the King of Kings, creator of the heavens and the earth, is right here, how is it possible that I ever in my life sinned? I'm not a kofar. I don't deny Hashem's existence. I don't say Hashem isn't here. So how is it possible that I ever sinned? And by the way, the Sefer Chinuch says, why is it that part of the Avodah on Yom Kippur is vidui, to speak out? He explains because all year round when we're doing what we're doing, we're denying Hashem's presence. If I've ever sinned during the course of the year, if I ever spoke Lashon Hara or whatever I might have done, that action is denying Hashem's presence. And he explains on Yom Kippur, the process of tshuva involves vidui, speaking it out, so that I should really retrain myself, because all year round I was training myself in the fact that Hashem isn't here, because if Hashem was here, I sure wouldn't have done it. Now on Yom Kippur, I have to undo that training and recognize the fact that no, Hashem was there. Hashem was listening. Hashem was right there. But here's the point. If I am a mamin, if I know that Hashem created the world, runs the world, and is present right here, how is it possible to sin? But here's another little question to expand this a little bit. When was the last time that you passed out during davening? I mean, when was the last time you were so overcome with emotion, with the awe, trepidation, that you literally fainted? Now, the odds are good that if you're like you and me and pretty much everyone else we know, it wasn't that often that that experience occurred to you. But here's the problem. I'm speaking to the creator of the heavens and the earth right here. Mesillas Yesharim explains that davening is not speaking, Hashem, can you hear me way up there in the heavens? Speaking to Hashem right here. And he says, it's literally, if I'm speaking to my friend, if my friend is right here, I'm conversing, my friend may respond, he may not respond. Says Mesillas Yesharim, Zuhi Tefillah, that's davening. So here's the question. I'm a mamin. I know that Hashem is here. And I understand that davening is speaking to Hashem. How is it possible that I space out? How is it possible that I'm not trembling? First of all, Hashem is more powerful than any human being I could ever imagine or envision. Hashem has lots of money. Hashem has diamonds in South Africa. Hashem has oil in Saudi Arabia. Hashem has real estate. Hashem's got everything I need. How is it possible that I'm not trembling in awe and trepidation if I accept the fact that Hashem is here? Now, we use certain words, getting it, hearing it, feeling it, and knowing it, as if there's some sort of divide that you can know things but not feel it. But here's the question. Why is that? History is not elusive. Gravity is a reality. I recognize it. I fully get it. I don't have to work on it. The hair gravity. Oh my goodness, heavy objects really do fall. I experience it. I know it. It's real. Even though gravity is a mighty abstract concept, yet I know it in the core of my essence. Why then is it that these concepts, what am I doing here? Hashem's presence. Why is it that these concepts require so much work? Why are they so difficult to grasp? Why are they so far removed? And again, why does Mesillas Yesharim say the real foundation, the real work is she's borev yisametz, to get it clear? We should just study it, read it, and we're done. And the reason why I would like to deal with this issue is because this issue, I believe, is probably the core main focus of all Mussar, and probably the biggest purpose of Mussar. And to begin answering this question, let me first deepen it one more step. There's a Gemara that I quoted in Shmuz number 20, Davening Make It Real, and I believe that Gemara is very, very eye-opening, because we'll soon see that it's not just us. Maybe you say it's me. During davening, I space out. 1 minute I'm speaking to Hashem, next minute I'm gone. But that's because I'm living in a fast-paced generation, I'm distracted, etc. I'd like to share with you that phenomena is endemic, basic to the human. Gemara tells us that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was the leader of the Klal Yisrael, and at 120 years of age, he took ill. Now, at that time, every person knew that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the great tzaddik, was the leader of the generation, and the word quickly spread that the great leader is ill. Nichnasu talmidav levakrov, his talmidim, his students came to visit him. And you have to appreciate, his students were people of tremendous stature. They were Tanoim. They were people of unimaginable greatness. And as soon as they walked into the room, he understood that they were coming to bid farewell. Miyad hischilivchos, he begins crying. And they said to him, Rebbe, mipnei ma ata bocha? Why are you crying? Normally, before a person prepares to leave this earth, there's a lot he has to think about. Many things he did that he shouldn't have done, many things he should have done that he didn't. But you're the great Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the pure tzaddik. You spent your entire life serving your Creator, serving your people. Why are you crying? And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, there's a derech in front of me. I'm heading on a path, but I don't know where it leads to. But I do know that they're going to judge me. If I were being taken in front of a melech basav adam, a mortal flesh and blood king, who's today here and tomorrow's gone, if this flesh and blood king were to judge me and were to get angry at me, that anger wouldn't last forever. If he were to lock me up, it wouldn't lock me forever. And if that mortal flesh and blood king were to kill me, it also wouldn't be forever. But that's not where they're taking me. They're taking me in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the creator of the heavens and the earth. If Hashem's angry with me, that is forever. If Hashem locks me up, meaning to say, the Mashal explains, puts me in Gehenna, potentially that could be forever. If Hashem snuffs me out, the worst punishment is the destruction of the neshama, that's forever. Shouldn't I cry? And what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was saying was understanding that I'm going to be judged. My entire life is going to be reviewed, measured, counted, weighed, is a very, very frightening concept. If a peer were to measure it, if a peer were to be my judge. But that's not where I'm going. Explains Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, I'm standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who weighs and measures every single act of my life, every single thought, every single engagement that I ever had, and Hashem measures to the depth, to the depth, to the depth, not just the action, but my intention, where I was coming from. Shouldn't I cry? At which point the Talmidim realized there was not much time left, so they said the words, Rebbe Barcheinu, give us a bracha. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, my bracha is, Shetemore Shemayim Aleichem Kimore Basav Adam. You should fear Hashem as you do man. The Talmidim said, Kula Havsulo. You just told us how much more we should fear Hashem than we do man. Your bracha, your final bracha is that we should fear Hashem as we do man. Says Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Halavai. Halavai, you should fear Hashem as you do man. Before a man commits a sin, he looks left, he looks right. Shelo yirani adam, let no man see me. Halavai, you should fear Hashem as you do man. And with those words, the Gemara closes. Now here's the observation. These students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai were people of unimaginable greatness. If we spent our lifetime trying to even envision who they were, I doubt we would imagine it. And this is the time right at the Churban Bayis. We're dealing with people whose entire lives were serving Hashem. We're dealing with people who got it totally, completely. Most of them, if not the majority, were in the Beis HaMikdash during the Avodah, and they got to experience Hashem's presence. So why is his final bracha and you should fear Hashem as you do man. And they said, that's nothing. To which he said, halavai. Halavai, you should fear Hashem as you do man, because, my goodness, before you sin, if a human being would catch you, you'd be mortified. You look left, right, make sure no one sees you. How come you don't realize that Hashem sees you? But here's the problem. This Gemara was not you and I. This is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai speaking to his closest Talmidim on his deathbed, saying words that should be rather obvious, and yet it was a core, eye-opening experience for his Talmidim, and it was a bracha. And again, the question is, why for us is it so difficult to get certain concepts? And it's especially for people of that stature, why didn't they just know it? Why didn't it just change their life? Why didn't they just be great tzaddikim from that moment on? And to begin answering this question, let's begin with one observation. The Derech Hashem, which is another sefer that the Ramchal wrote before Mesillas Yesharim, explains that there are 4 stages of my life. The first stage is before I was in this body. Hashem created me, I, the neshama, the one inside, and I was under the throne of glory without a body, fully alert, fully conscious, fully aware, an intellectual being close to Hashem. That is the first stage of our life. Then Hashem puts us into this life, chooses a particular family, particular generation, puts me into a body with a certain temperament, certain level of intelligence, and says, go out there, ford those streams, climb those mountains, become the great human being you can become. When I'm done my job here, the body's put in the ground, I separate, I go to the Olam HaNeshamos, sort of you could call it maybe a holding pen, where I, separate from my body, spend a certain amount of time, and then eventually is Tchias HaMesim, when I'm put back into a body much more similar to Adam HaRishon's body, a body in which I can quickly perfect my neshama. I can quickly perfect the body, and I, in that new form, live on forever. 4 stages. The first stage is before I was in the body, second stage in the body, out of the body, then back in. But you see, here's the point. Before I was in this body, I understood things with absolute clarity. I got it. I got it so clearly, and I understood it so clearly that I was torn. I was torn whether to come into this world or not come into this world. The Beis Yosef in his Sefer Magid Misharim explains that the neshamas sit there and they watch certain neshamas go into this world and come back. And when they come back powerful, stellar giants. They see neshamas that started like they, and they come back literally like the sun in midday, brilliant, gigantic, and every neshama, when seeing that, says, I too want to come into this world. Let me have a chance. Hashem, please let me enter the world. However, not every neshama that enters this world comes back greatly improved. Some come back damaged, some come back malformed, some come back crippled. And the neshamas, as in you and I, watch as many, many neshamas come into this world great, pure, and come back to that world very, very damaged, very impure. And all the neshamas see this, and they say, it's too dangerous. It's not worth it. The danger is so powerful. The destruction for eternity is so pervasive, it's not worth it, and none of the neshamas want to come into this world. Hashem, in His infinite wisdom, understands that for those who reach the heights, it's worth it, and against their will, Hashem puts the neshama into a body. But you see, at that moment, when I'm there under the Kisei HaKavod, I get it with absolute clarity and absolute understanding. I see the consequences of my actions. I understand that every mitzvah that Hashem gave me or will give me is for my benefit and the benefit of the world at large. I understand that anything Hashem warns me not to do is destructive to me and to the world in which I live. And in that state, I am pure. And in that state, I'm much like a malach. but in that state, I could never become what I could be. And it explains to Derech Hashem, the reason that Hashem created the entire world was to allow the human being to be close to Hashem, to allow the human being to make himself into Hashem as much as human being can, and by doing that, to enjoy the ultimate reward, to be close to Hashem, to be dovek, to enjoy the proximity, the greatest pleasure that can be envisioned or imagined. But that has to be earned. And the way it's earned is not by being a malach. You see, one of the mistakes that we make is we say, oh, if only I could get it so clearly. If only I could be like a malach, I'd serve Hashem and it'd be wonderful. And on one level it would be. But if I and a malach were the same, there'd effectively be no purpose in creation. And to illustrate this, let me focus on a very interesting point that's mentioned a number of times, a number of shmuzim, but it bears repeating. One of the mistakes that we make is we assume that a malach doesn't have free will. Ask a kid in school, 4th grade, 5th grade, does an angel have free will? Absolutely not. Malachim don't have free will. No bechira. A human being, man has free will. A malach doesn't have bechira. The only problem is that that's not correct. There are numerous examples in Chazal where malachim made mistakes. Malach is a das nifrad, a separate intellect. It has free will as you and I have free will. And the difference between a man and a malach is not free will. The difference between a man and a malach is the clarity with which a malach gets things. You see, a malach understands exactly as I did before I was in this body, exactly the goodness of Hashem, the purpose of creation, and a malach realizes the consequences with absolute total understanding. If you'd like to know the free will of a malach, it's a very simple thing. Imagine I were to say to you the following. I will give you a $100 bill if you'll put your hand in this fire for a minute. Let's say I pull out a crisp $100 bill and I said, I'll give you this $100 bill if you put your hand in the fire for 1 minute. Would you put your hand in the fire? Now, the answer is you wouldn't. Not for $100, not for $1,000, because it's self-inflicted damage, and you would never do it. But here's the question. Do you have free will to do it? Of course you have free will. You could do it. In theory, you could do it, but you never would because it's foolish. That's a type of free will that a malach has. You see, a malach sees every action and its consequences, but it sees it and it gets it. And the kind of free will that a malach has is similar to my free will to put my hand in a fire. If you would offer me $1,000 to drink a cup of bleach, I wouldn't take you up on the offer. Why? Because I understand that it's destructive and I won't do it. And a malach understands with absolute clarity the results of its actions, the consequences, and therefore a malach is static. It can never grow. And as great as a malach is, that's where it is pegged, and that's where it remains for eternity. But Hashem created the human being potentially to be way, way greater than malachim. Hashem created the human being and put him in a situation where he would have free reign, free will. And if he chooses correctly, and if he puts his life on track, he grows and he accomplishes, and he makes himself, not being formed into something, but chooses to be like Hashem with his strength of will, and creates himself into something, and thereby becomes greater than any malach in creation. But to allow for that, it has to be an even contest. You see, free will to put my hand in a fire is theoretically free will, but it's not practical. To allow man to choose, and for that choice to be rewarded because it was really his choice, it can't be clear. Because if I saw the consequences, obviously I wouldn't do it. And to allow the human being to have actual free will, not theoretical free will, like putting my hand in the fire, but to have real free will, where I could easily go this way, and just as easily go that way, where I literally have to choose, and I could literally spend my life wasting it, frittering it away, and just destroying my existence, or the opposite, I could choose to grow and choose to accomplish, but both choices being viable, and both choices being equally there. To do that, Hashem had to do something that is very, very difficult for us human beings to relate to. And to do that, Hashem put I into a body. But this body isn't just a body kind of like a robot that I occupy and Now I tell it what to do. The body has its own will, has its own thoughts, its own das. It has a nefesh. It has a full, vibrant, live part with desires and needs and hungers and appetites. And when I, the brilliant neshama, was put into this body, suddenly I got mixed into all these desires and needs, and all of a sudden I'm in this constant state of flux, constant state of change. But one thing for sure, I never get it clear. I never really see the consequences. I never really understand the gravity of certain actions. Because if I did, there wouldn't be free will. And if you'd like to fundamentally understand our state, I have a mashal that I think well defines it. If you've ever seen a yeshiva bocher, let's say a first year Beis Medrash guy, and this Purim he decides, you know what, I'm getting drunk. I'm doing a mitzvah the right way, at least he thinks so, and I'm going to get drunk. And he just does that, gets himself drunk, and you see him in the street. And you see him and say, hey, Moshe, what are you doing? I'm playing in traffic. Moshe, you're playing with the cars. You're not going to get hit by a car. I know. Smack, crack, break my back. Moshe, you're going to get hit by a car. They're going to send you to the hospital. I know. Crack my back. They'll put pins in my back. And when I go to the metal detector, ding, ding, ding. Now let's stop. You're having a conversation with this fellow, and he's responding. And he's clearly alert, clearly aware. He knows that he could get hit. He even knows that if he gets hit, he's going to go to the hospital, put pins in, etc. So how is he in traffic risking his life? And the answer is he's drunk. Meaning he's having a conversation, he seems to get it, but the consequences don't really hit him. He doesn't really feel it. He's in a drunken state. And in a drunken state, you get it, you don't get it, you understand, you don't understand. That is us. As long as I'm in this body, I'm drunk. I'm drunk in the sense that I'm mixed in with different desires and needs and appetites and all kinds of things mixed in so that I never really get it. And I could say the words, Gehenna is waiting for me. I wonder how hot it's going to be. And as I say the words, it doesn't even penetrate. My entire future, who I am for eternity, and one word of learning is more valuable, more precious than any diamonds and jewels. And as I say the words, this doesn't penetrate, just doesn't enter my heart. And I could stand in front of the creator of the heavens and earth and know that I'm here. Recognize that I'm speaking to Hashem right here. And, I'm getting a little hungry. What is going on? What's going on is that is the secret to free will. When Hashem created the human, Hashem put us in a situation where we literally can choose left or right, be great or whatever, but both choices are viable, both choices are there. But to do that, we have to be sort of drugged up, sort of drunk, put into this body where I never really feel things. And it's not just you and me. The students of Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai, as great as they were, as holy as they were, needed Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai to say to him, you're speaking to Hashem. If you realized that Hashem was here, if you thought about Hashem as you do a human being, you would fear Hashem much more, you'd be a much greater person. Because as great as they were, as much as they got it, they too were humans. And this reality is the point. The reason why we're here is to grow, to accomplish. The reason why it's so difficult to grow and accomplish is because we're put into this body, desires, needs, in this heavy cloak of physicality, and we just don't feel it. If you ask me what is the goal of Mussar, probably the biggest accomplishment is exactly that, to feel things, to come to understand things and recognize them as real. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta in the Geras, in his letters, he writes, Laharchiv es hadavar, to make it wider and clearer till you feel it, till it's palpable. You see, when the Mesillas Yesharim says she's bar of Yisamitz, and she become clear and truthful, I have to really get it. I have to understand it's really, really going to be me and the world to come. It's really going to happen, and I'll be exactly what I shaped myself into. But not some splintered down version of me, not my neshama, my distant cousin, like I'll be dead. Me, I, with my thoughts, all of my desires, everything. Me, the same me who's talking to you right now, I will be there, and forever I'll be what I shape myself into. But getting that, understanding it, feeling it, is a tremendous, tremendous avoda. Obviously, if I ever really got it 50%, forget it. My life would be so much more focused, so much more driven. If I ever realized Hashem is right here, believe me, my life would be a very, very different existence. We get it 20%, 22%, we work a little more, 25%, and sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, but we never really have it clear because we can't. As long as we're in this body, as long as we're in this existence called life, we never get fully clear. The avoda, the real work, is to think, to dwell, to use exercises, whether it be mashalim or physical exercises or the various things that the Mussar Sfarim explain to us, to really feel it, to make it clear, so that I really, really feel it as much as I can. Will it ever be totally clear? No, it's not supposed to. But understanding that is the work of Mussar, trying to get it. You see, davening is a very, very spiritual activity. When I daven, I'm transcending physicality. I'm speaking to Hashem, but all of my senses deny Hashem's presence. I don't see Hashem, I don't hear Hashem, I don't feel Hashem, and everything in my existence I only relate to through my frame of reference, through my five senses. And everything in my existence denies Hashem's presence. And when I do that process of actually speaking to Hashem, right there, cut through the layers and layers of physicality, cut through that darkness, and actually connect to my Creator, it's a transcending experience. I'm really getting it. I'm feeling it. Of course, I come back and it doesn't last that long, but you grow a little bit, and you grow a little bit. The job is to get it. The job is to think about it. The job is to dwell. The single question that a person must ask himself more than anything else is, what am I here for? What's my purpose in existence? Why did Hashem put me here? And the reason why that question has to be asked and asked again and again and again is because you get it a little bit more clearly, and the more you feel it, the more you understand it, the more you realize how life is a golden opportunity. The more I realize I'm here for future years to grow and accomplish, the more everything becomes focused. Everything takes on a whole different light. And I become a driven human being, driven to accomplish, and driven to serve my Creator. But I have to ever focus on it, ever think about it. She is borevius amet, she become clear and truthful. And many times you'll be tempted to say, well, I know these concepts already. Mesillas Yesharim in his introduction says, what you're going to read in this book probably won't be very chiddishdik at all. You may find very few novel concepts. But they're concepts that we forget about, that we don't feel, that we don't deal with, we don't spend time on. My Rebbe, Rabbi Shafier, explained that those words were written with tremendous humility, because every page, every paragraph of the Mesillas Yesharim has tremendous novel points and tremendous new ideas, but nevertheless the main focus and the main accomplishment of the book is not the new ideas, but for me to feel it, for me to sense it, for me to become a different person. And that's by going over it, by thinking about it, by dwelling on it. The purpose of all Mussar really is to get it, to feel it. And so many of the shmuzim deal with it for that reason. This series will be dedicated to those ideas, to getting concepts. I hope that you're more than familiar. I hope that you've listened to many, many shmuzim. I hope that you listened to Life 101, which is the first time I went through Mesillas Yesharim, certainly the first parak. And hopefully you've listened to other parts, dealing with other parts of Mesillas Yesharim. But in this series, what I'm trying to do is bring it more to the fore, so I could feel it, I can sense it, I could really be margish it. And I want to close with one last observation. This shmuz of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, I happened to have said recently. I was asked to speak on Friday night here in Monsey in a shul, and I walked in, and as I'm going there to speak, my wife says to me, so-and-so, they're making a shalom zachar. A friend of hers, her daughter had a baby, and they're making a shalom zachar at the parents' house, And my wife, who's friendly with the grandmother, asked that I go and stop in. Happened to be the shul was about a half hour from my house, but it was right near to these people's house. So after saying the shmuz, after Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai shmuz, I stopped at the Shalom Zachar, and everyone was very, very happy I was there. The grandfather, the father, but I realized that they might have thought that I walked in a half hour for them, and even though they're good friends and my wife, etc., I really didn't. I didn't want there to be any misunderstanding. So I explained, I just happened to have been speaking in a shul nearby, and I wanted to stop by to wish Mazel Tov. The grandfather, who is about my age, said to me, "Oh, so tell me, what'd you say? But tell me in 2 sentences." And I told him what I say. I'll tell you what I said. When I'm davening, I'm speaking to Hashem right here. Not up there, right here. And then he said to me the words, "So what took you 45 minutes to say that?" And I said to him, for me to say it would only take 2 minutes. For me to say it in the way that they're going to feel it takes 40 hours of preparation and 1 hour of saying it over, because feeling it is not just a concept. Feeling is when it's real, when it's palpable, when you really sense it. To say it doesn't take long. To feel it is the avoda. And ultimately that's the work of Mussar. Ultimately that's the work of this series.